Hold on, let me go to my YouTube. Just a sec. Give me 1 second. All right. Thank you all so much for coming. You're welcome to the IMANI Reviews show. This is where we speak, we are real so that we can live. We are so sorry for the late starts. We're having a few technical issues. So please bear with us. We're hoping that everything works smoothly from now onwards. Let's say a quick word of prayer and then we'll start. Father, we are so grateful unto you. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss important issues in our lives. We commit this discussion to your hands. Autism has become a topic of interest these days and of concern. And it's our desire to know more about it and know how to handle it so that those who get affected by it can still live good lives, healthy lives, fulfilling lives. And for those who have to take care of them, we pray for wisdom to be able to give them the guidance that they need so that they can live abundant lives. We thank you. We pray committing the internet into your hands. Grant us a smooth transmission that everything we need to hear will be heard. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, so again, you're welcome to the IMANI Reviews show. And today I'm privileged to have 4 powerful and strong women, experts in the field of autism, to help us in our discussion today. Like I said in the prayer, autism has become an issue here in Ghana. When you read about it, it shows that, and even around, people, when they realize that children are autistic, they are seen differently, almost as if their life cannot amount to anything. But some of us know that it's the contrary. I've seen one of my parents' friends' son who has grown up and is doing really well, and he's autistic. So today we are come to talk about autism, what it is, and how it can be managed. And I'm privileged to have Stella, Whitney, Tina, and Vanessa with me to talk about it. I'm not going to talk too much. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, and then we'll take off. So, ladies, I'll start with.
To play. I'm busy right now, Rain. Can you? I'm sorry, right? So the autism is a broad range of conditions that is challenging. It can be social skills. It can be behavior repetition. It could be speech or nonverbal communication, right? So I think Tina talked about Ghana. They have like three boxes that when you go to the doctor will have you check, right? But here they focus more on the eye contact, right?
Possibilities that it could be genetics or from the environment. Okay,
Mhm.
so um, we wouldn't want to really bother ourselves with that because there are no research that backs it that okay, um well, your child has autism because maybe you had him when you were older, or and there are no scans or x-rays or whatever tests to show that well your child got autism because of, unless you see traits in your family that okay, my cousin or my sister, I know two sisters who have children on the autism spectrum disorder, and so for that you can tell that well it's from this side of the family, but there aren't any tests to show that it's from the environment or you know from genetics.
Like you said, there's no test, right? There's no test you can take. Like as Vanessa said, when you are pregnant, you
Hello?
can have them do some scans and things to. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, scans for Down syndrome, but that doesn't exist for autism. And even if you think it may be a genetic component, there's not like a blood test that would test that for you. One thing
Mm.
to note about the potential environmental factors is this is something that happens from what we've been seeing with the research. It's not like a child is 6 months and then all of a sudden they turn autistic, right? Or they're
Mm.
5 years old and they catch autism. You can't catch it from another person. So I want to make that clear because sometimes there's a misconception of, okay, my child's playing with that child, they might get something from them. So I want to
Mm.
make that clear, but it is typically what they're thinking with environmental factors is either stuff in utero, so when the baby's developing, or something that way, right? It's not like the child is one or two. You sometimes see the regression of skills, like Vanessa mentioned, and that scares families. Of course, that would be very scary to see that happen to your child. But I just want to make that clear that it's not something that your child can catch. Oftentimes, maybe Vanessa has noticed that she might be able to think back to when her daughter was a lot younger and
Mhm.
Mm.
I just wanted to bring that point in there as well. Thank you.
Okay. So, what I'm hearing you say is it's basically genetic. Hello?
So Jeanette, we're trying to say genetic in the way of inherited from family members. It can be, but it sometimes in some families they don't have any family members that they know of that are autistic.
Mm.
Sometimes you might look back and think, oh, maybe that uncle was, or we had that
Mm.
auntie that was always with my grandparents.
Mm.
So you don't know, but we're not medical researchers, but that's the latest that I know for right now. But there is still this idea that there's some environmental factors
Mm.
as well.
So, to follow up with that, when you talked about remembering that, okay, an uncle was this way and that way, it looks like autism has become quite prevalent now in Ghana. Is it because in the past we didn't have the technology to test and identify, or we didn't have the knowledge, or it's that is actually um, now happening here, and on the rise. Oh, Tina, do you want to? Okay, Vanessa.
I'd like to tap into that. I
Sure.
think a lot of it comes from the lack of knowledge,
Mm,
and because of just not being exposed to information early on. Again, a lot of these things would be like, because they are children, they're going to be children, right? So this is maybe like what is thought to be normal until the child begins to grow a little bit older, past like the toddler stage and past a little bit going into the early stages of grade school. So that would be first, second, third, where the cognitive is being pulled a little bit more, where it's being asked for a little bit more. And then you see the child start to struggle. So then it becomes more like, oh, nodding, or asking a question. So I think it's the studies of or research is there, but it's not exposed. If we're not exposed to it, I want to say in Ghana, it's not something that you can go to feel comfortable asking about, because again, I don't, for the lack of better words, autism, even in the states, autism is not a topic that we speak about because again, it's quote unquote, I want to put in parentheses or quotations, it's almost like it's taboo. It doesn't exist. So it's something that it's
I
becoming more
see.
prevalent now because the information is there, yes, and we have a lot of more scholarly research on it, and people are getting a little bit more invested in it. But from before, I think it's seen more as like, oh, this doesn't exist in my family, or I don't know what you're talking about, or it's hidden. The person now becomes a hidden factor of the family. They don't come outside. They're not able to intertwine with a community because of their the diagnosis. If there was a diagnosis before, if there wasn't, they weren't able to mingle with everyone else because of quote unquote how different they were. So I believe it's
Yeah.
taboo in Ghana almost, and it's almost taboo here in the United States, where a lot of Ghanaians in general don't speak about it.
Thank you very much. So, we want to go to how it affects the
Oh,
parents.
sorry.
So, for someone who suddenly notices that their child is not acting as a regular child, and then they find out that their child is autistic, what can you tell such a parent? I mean, can you hear me?
Can you go? I mean, hello. You
Hello,
can
Tina.
reconnect. Hi.
Yeah, you're breaking up slightly.
Oh, okay. Well,
Hello.
one thing Vanessa said that struck me is the fact that it's a taboo. Autism is a taboo in even in the US, that um, is more enlightened compared to Ghana and Africa as a whole. Um, we we still have a lot of gray areas in the field of autism, and currently we have, I know of one um, neuro doctor, a pediatrician who specializes in treating children with neurodevelopmental disorders. I know of another in Kolebu also. Yes, we have speech therapists, but they are not as many as we require. The numbers are you know very unproportional. We have Whitney, who is a BCBA, the only BCBA in Ghana, and so we have a very
Sorry, can
long
you
way
tell
to
us
go.
what
You mentioned autism
BCBA is?
and a board certified behavioral analyst, right?
Okay.
Yes. She specializes in treating the behavior components of autism and other. developmental disorders. So we have a long way to go in Ghana. We have a long way to go. I've had very frightening instances with my son where um, somewhere last year, my husband, my family were almost lynched because
Oh no.
my son escaped from our car. He was running in traffic, and people
Oh
thought
boy.
he was escaping from kidnappers. Um,
Oh.
they wouldn't let us go. They clamped our car, and they were really angry. It was a very messy situation. We kept
Wow.
telling them our son has autism, and they're like, "What is autism?" You
Wow.
see,
That is
so we
serious.
need a lot. We need to do a lot of advocacy in Ghana, in everywhere.
Okay. Wow. That truly will be scary. Yes, Stella. Stella, go ahead.
Okay, so I think there was something that you all have shared before, and I wanted to touch base on it. And I think Vanessa and I we talked about it before, right? I think when I first came back from Ghana, so the autism, right? I think researchers has also shown that is a neuro we and I think we have said is a neurodiversity, right? So there's something that's going on in the brain, right? That is causing the what we see, right? And also in the gut, right? Vanessa, can you hear me? Okay. And then there's also research on the gut, right? That can help the kid to improve, right? And then there, right, the massages your neck and it helps you with the speech, right? Look, there's this doctor in India, right? And I don't even know because I shouldn't even share, so I'm gonna leave it like that, right? But all I want to say is that they have been some type of STEM research, right? That has been shown to parents who have done it that can help the improvement of for lack of a better word, maybe disability, right? Because that's what they say, right? If you're stemming, if you're gazing in the air and not having no words and just so I just what I wanted to share was that the autism, right? They said improving your gut, something that has to do with your gut, can help with the symptoms. There's a doctor in India that could do stem transplant that could also help with the behavior. Um, what else? And the doctor, Amma, do you remember the name? Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, can I comment on that for a second? Yeah, so I don't mean to go against what you're saying, but I just want to share a warning that I know, like for example, in the country of Nigeria, there's been a lot of people going to see this supposed and other doctors for stem cell. There's been a lot of things that didn't work well and a lot of money that families have spent. And the country itself has sent a warning out telling people not to go for this. So I think people just really need to research it very, very well, just to look into it a bit more. I think sometimes we're ready for that quick thing that can help our children. And of course, as a parent, I'm a mom too. I would try almost anything, but I want to, have people just also have a little bit of a warning too, because I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't give medical advice. But it's important to really look deeply at that, just since I have seen that warning from the government of Nigeria about it as well. And I have former clients who have gone and done it and not seen any improvement from it. So maybe it's a different doctor, but just want to share that warning. Yeah.
something because this is a platform for information sharing, right? And I'm so glad that you said it because I have thought about it over and over. Vanessa, no, I have come to advocate it to her. I have a client who's going to India, to have her they're from India, to have her the brain assessment, right? To see what's going on neurologically what's going on with the baby in the head, and the stem being a. So I'm so glad that you did say that because we are sharing information and back and forth, and having knowledge on this is profound. So yeah, definitely. So I'm gonna scratch that. But the doctor, can you remember when they work with your nerves and your? I took
So
naproxen.
I think I don't recall the name of the doctor. His name
I
is,
have to look it up. I took
but
naproxen.
essentially what happens is that just like how your placenta has all of these stem that you can actually hold on to for many years that can cure maybe any of your other children that may be sick with any type of diseases, right? It's the same thing that the physician in India would be doing by, I believe he was pulling stem cells from spinal fluid. And that is what of the child
Of the child, yes.
which in question or which was being assessed by that would repair any type of cells, I believe, in the brain. So it's pulling fluid from the spine itself is a very invasive procedure, right? It's a
Yeah.
very risky procedure because it's something that you can debilitate somebody by if you make the slightest mistake. So that's why that warning that Whitney pronounced is very, very important because you don't want to get into something that's going to put your child into a very strange predicament, right? And then you
Yeah.
cannot reverse certain things. So that's what the physician is doing. I'm sure he's board certified in the country of India. However, when you're coming outside, going in, you don't know much, and the research can only go about 1,000 miles, and then until you get there and then get more information. So it's a very interesting process. Yes. However, the doctor was, I believe there was some type of review where the child that he was assessing was able to was able to almost like reverse the autism. If I don't remember clearly, I believe Stella can share the link if she still has it. But the doctor was able to somehow reverse the autism, and the child began to quote unquote be a normal child. Then was able to study normally. All of the flags and symptoms that the child was previously showing had simmered down. There was no more stimming, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stella, but that is what the doctor was able to do by pulling the stem cells from the spinal fluid and then repairing any of the damaged neurons or synapses in the brain and where the connectivity was sparse in a way. So again, very invasive procedure from what I saw. But again, at this level, when you have a child that's autistic, you do anything. But please keep in mind, anything can also trigger other things to happen that didn't necessarily need to happen.
So these procedures, are they still in the experimental stage?
I don't recall from the video. I think Stella can maybe speak on that. I'm not too sure.
Can you repeat what Abby asked? Vanessa, what did Abby asked? What was her question?
If the procedures are still in the experimental stage from the physician in that's doing the procedures.
What was her question?
Are the procedures still in the experimental stage?
No, 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 no. And I don't want to speak on that because honestly, I don't. Abby, I was so happy when Whitney shared that because I do not have enough information. I just wanted to, again, this is advocacy, right? We are sharing information, what's out there, what resources, what tools that the parents who want to use can use. So I don't have enough info. The more information I have, I'm keeping it to myself. Basically, that's what it's going.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But I asked a question earlier. The psychological effects that it has on parents who realize that their children have autism. How can that be dealt with? Sure, you can.
Okay. It's pardon.
No, please go on.
Okay. She's asking of the psychological effects of the diagnosis and how to handle it. Yes, on parents, sure. So it isn't a
Well, we'll get to that, Jamal. We'll get to that. But I want us to also address this bit, and then we'll go on to the resources that we have. Can you hear me?
a good thing, a fun thing to happen to. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so receiving the diagnosis, I think people receive it differently. For me and my husband, it was a devastating news to us. Although we had seen the signs, we had seen on Google. Whenever we Googled the behaviors he was putting up, we got autism as the result of, um, when we got the diagnosis, it wasn't a pretty thing. I went through so much. My husband did too, but women take things more differently than men.
We are
I
more emotional.
went through depression. Yes, went through depression. COVID made it worse because we received our diagnosis just before COVID. And at the time, I didn't even know I was dealing with depression. But after a while, I spoke to a doctor friend of mine who, um, encouraged me to see a psychologist. And so it isn't easy, but make sure that if you find yourself pulling away from people, if you find yourself crying so much, um, in a dark place where you think about suicide and you think there isn't any hope, please speak to someone. If it's if you need medication, please see a psychologist. A psychologist is the best person to, prescribe something for you, so you can get yourself up and help your child. Because if you get a diagnosis and you are not in the best state mentally, you won't be able to do much to help your child. And if you, the parent, is strong, is resilient, you are the best person to help. There are
Yeah.
therapists, and but then they spend a few hours or minutes with your child. You are with your child almost all the time. So if you feel down and you have all the symptoms of depression and all the others that come with it, please get help. Speak
Sure.
to a family, a friend. Don't think you are a burden onto anyone. That is how depression presents. You think down, I mean, bad things of yourself, and it isn't pretty.
Thank you, Tina. Whitney, this is to you. Do you feel like there's enough support for parents? And then where can they go to access help for themselves and for their children in Ghana?
Yeah, so unfortunately in Ghana, it's not set up the same way as in the States with healthcare coverage for these types of services. You also rarely have special education happening in a general education school here. It's very, very rare. So most children are kicked out of school, unfortunately, or forced to go to more special needs schools. So I think in general in Ghana, there needs to be a push for some special education within general education settings, and that would greatly impact the parents' lives too, and decrease the human rights violations that can happen against this population. That's the school side of things. When it comes to therapy in the US, so I'm a behavior analyst. So in the US, a lot of children will undergo something called applied behavior analysis.
Okay.
As Tina said, I'm the only BCBA in country, but we've been working really hard with my NGO to give scholarships to staff and help mentor other people going through coursework. So there's now currently 7 behavior analysts in country that are certified. So those are called international behavior analysts, the IBAs, because the board from the US doesn't certify here in Ghana. So when it comes to behavior analysis, there's 7. This spring, there'll be probably at least 4 to 5 more. But you have a population of how many million people here? It's like 30 some million, right?
Yeah.
So speech therapists, there's a program at University of Ghana and also in Ho, I think. I can't remember what that university is called. So there are speech therapists grown within Ghana, which is great, but there's not a lot, and not everyone specializes in pediatrics. And then occupational therapy, unfortunately, a lot are leaving to the UK right now, a lot of the OTs. So the OT field is having a lot less. Parents don't have healthcare coverage for these services most of the time, so it's out of pocket. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. I'm sure the moms here maybe can talk about that piece. And it is because it's usually like 1-to-1, right? So you have to. It's not like a classroom of 30 kids. It's different that way. And even special education schools that are private ones are spendy for families here. So it creates a lot of barriers for the children to get the support they really need. If you want a list of resources, Tina mentioned Dr. Marble Wilson at Mission Clinic, who is a neurodevelopmental pediatrician. She has a list. If you call Mission Clinic, they have a list of speech therapists, OTs, schools that take kids with special needs. It's all there. And also, I think some parent resources as well. So that list, if you call them, I'm sure they could give you a copy. But even when it comes to diagnostics, there's not a lot of people. I think there's just a handful that I know of that diagnose autism within Ghana. There's one other neurodevelopmental pediatrician in Techiman, Dr. I'll think of her name later. She's a German lady up there. And yeah, so there's a long way to go, but there's definitely more services now than there was like 10 years ago, but a long, long way to go. One encouraging thing though is when I first came to Ghana in 2015 on my first visit, in talking with families that had kids with autism, a lot of these children were school age when they got diagnosed, or the parents realized there was something maybe a little bit different about their child. And now I used to mainly see kids coming to my center in Cape Coast after they were already school age. Now I have kids as young as 20 months that are coming for therapy. So there's definitely a shift to some degree of awareness, because you are seeing children at younger ages. Even in Central Region, I'm seeing kids at 2-3 years old. So it's not just in Accra, which is encouraging to me that more people are starting to become aware and seek support for their kids.
Great. Have you heard of the Autism Care and Training Center? I did a little research earlier and I came across them. Okay.
Yeah, so that they just celebrated their 25th anniversary. So that's fantastic. She's a mom. A lot of the schools here and programs here are set up by autism moms that, want to create better supports for their child and other children like it as well.
So there are some support groups for guardians.
But maybe Tina, as you were mentioning, Tina, about the mental health aspects of it, I was thinking about how, from what I've heard, parents really love being able to connect with other moms that get it or dads that get it. Do you know of any groups within Ghana for parent support. I think there's like a WhatsApp group that I've seen in the past. Maybe you can comment on that.
Yes, there are support groups in Ghana. I have one.
Okay.
I'm in a group set up by Missions Pediatrics. They are doing amazingly well. Dr. Mabel, she has a parent support group. Every month we have a parents roundtable discussion. She brings on board experts to address a wide range of you easily get information you need, any kind of information you need.
So, in terms of our educational system, what efforts are being done? Like we said, it's almost taboo, but now education so that they can have good lives.
Announced that every public school wasn't supposed to turn away a child who has any form of disability. In the past, this was it was not done. I mean, you couldn't take your child who had autism and ADHD to school. They would return you. I mean, tell you to go look for another school. But it is now mandatory for every government school to enroll a child any child who has autism. So that's a bit of progress made by the government. There are,
Is it happening?
I can't
Because I
tell.
don't.
I mean,
That's the thing I
I
wanna know.
haven't taken
Yeah.
my child to
So, you say you haven't
I
taken your
haven't had
child.
that experience. Hello? I mean, can I go on?
Yeah, you were saying that you haven't taken your child where.
I haven't enrolled him in the public school after the
Okay.
announcements, but um, prior to that, I tried enrolling my son to. It was even a private school, and were told straight in the face that they couldn't accept him because they didn't have the resources and the know-how to take care of him. I understood them. So there wasn't any consideration. Well, uh, what can we do to help? No, we were just turned away. But after the declaration, I don't know that. I don't know, but hopefully they do it. Hopefully.
So, are you homeschooling your child?
No, my child is in a special school currently.
Okay. Okay.
He has ADHD and autism, and so we're doing a few months of special school to help with his some of the behaviors before we transition him into mainstream.
Okay. I'm not sure.
At University of Education Winneba and also at UCC. So there's plenty Ghanaians out there that have special education as a degree. So schools really need to employ them so that a
Yeah.
mom like what Tina said with her experience never happens. Those people are out there and they're searching for jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the infrastructure hasn't gotten to that point to accommodate these graduates yet. That's what it seems. So they are coming out of school and they are not necessarily getting the tools and the needed infrastructure to be able to effectively use the knowledge and the skills that they've acquired. I don't know whether you've identified that. Sorry, Tina.
Yes, what I was saying is, we have too many issues in the country. I mean, we have so many advocates, people advocating for children on the spectrum, even in parliament. But we Ghana is going through a phase, and I'm hopeful that we would get there. We would get our voices heard eventually.
Okay. I'm noticing that some people have put comments in the YouTube. So let me read and then we'll proceed. Daniel Price says that autism isn't a matter of cellular damage or anything like that. It's simply different hardwiring of the brain and hardwiring of the brain and neural pathways. And he goes on to say the best way to handle the diagnosis is to accept it as hard as it may be. Don't beat yourself up feeling like you did something wrong. Just have to take it day by day, dealing with things as they come. And he says that one of the latest courses of action, if the resources are available, is early intervention. Get the child's speech and occupational therapy as soon as possible to try to help them maximize their potential. Yes, I think we mentioned that earlier. Thank you very much, Daniel. I hope you can all hear me. Okay. All right. So in Ghana, we are quite religious. Okay. Different faiths, Christian faith, Muslim, etc. So some of the health issues that we have, we tend to also look at it from the faith point of view. How would you advise or help someone who tends to lean more towards the child's autism case being more spiritual, which, yes, sometimes happens. And those of us in Africa, we can relate. There are lots of spiritual things that happen. But at the same time, too, there's the science. So how can you help a parent to have that fine balance so that they can still seek the scientific help as they also pray? Well, in the case of a Christian, as they pray for their child, also reaching out for professional help. Tina, you laughed.
Okay, hi. So yes, I would say to a parent who thinks that their child's diagnosis is spiritual, that, well, what sickness isn't spiritual? I mean, from the Bible, every negativity that comes our way is from the devil, right? And so, yes, pray, pray, but also do what is required physically. Um, if you depend solely on spirituality, you're going to hurt your child so much. The Bible even says, for Christians, the Bible says that faith without works is dead, right? So, of course, have faith. Know that God can heal your child. But don't don't stay in don't just pray and do nothing. Seek help for your child. Therapy is a miracle. Therapy is a miracle. My son, for instance, has come a very long way from he being nonverbal to he making requests. He's able to tell us what he wants. It's a huge miracle. It's a big deal to us. He being able to he being fully potty trained, he socializing, playing with his brother, he being able to sit through a haircut is a miracle. And so my understanding or my experiences have taught me that God is indeed in a miracle business. I depend solely on God. If it wasn't for him, I would be I don't know what would have happened to me. I am very spiritual, but then I also do what is required physically for my child. Don't rely solely on spirituality. You would hurt your child.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Vanessa, are you saying something?
My head in agreement to Tina, because if I may please add on to what
Sure.
she, or echo what she's saying, is that even here in the States, specifically in the Ghanaian community, because we're speaking about Ghana, many of us here are still spiritual and still delve into, let me continue to pray that God will fix it. Yes, indeed, He will fix it. But again, there's always two sides of a story, there's always two sides of a coin. Even if you flip it, you're going to still get a side, right? So you have to put action. You have to put action into the prayer. You pray for the guidance, you pray for the wisdom, you pray for the healing, you pray for the support, you pray for everything. But backing it, the action needs to be seen. You have to do the action. If the action isn't done, you're going to be stagnant in the position in where you started. There won't be a point B, a point C. You will be in point A for a long while until you move one step closer to point B. So while you're praying that in the next sequence of events that God see you through, that He continue to use the therapist and the specialist as vessels to heal your child. So these are the prayers in which I was utilizing when I was given the news or the diagnosis. You have to alter
Okay.
your prayer in a way that the people that you meet become the vessels of healing for your child while still keeping attached to your faith. Because a lot of us in the Ghanaian community are very spiritual and we're very attached to God or Jesus. We need to continue to do so, but without the action, it's almost like you're not doing anything. You're just speaking. So I encourage
Right.
everyone who's listening to continue to pray, but please move your feet, move your hands, open your mouth, because the tongue is very powerful. Once you open your mouth and you begin to advocate and you begin to speak in the words of God and you speak into the people who are trying to heal your child, you will start seeing miracles. Okay, my child was also nonverbal. She can now tell me, I'm going to take a nap. I'll be right back. So these are the things we pray for in the early stages. Continue to do so, but also seek the help where the vessels of God are working to create these miracles as well.
Thank you so much. So this just came to mind. The children with on the spectrum, I should say, does it affect their sleep, their eating pattern? We talked about their social life, but I don't recall if anyone talked about the way they eat or sleep. Does that also get affected? Anyone at all can take it.
Yes, definitely. It does.
Okay.
Some children have, there is a saying that if you meet a child with autism or a person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Some have sleep challenges and eating too. And it's mostly because of sensory issues. Um, my child, for instance, didn't like food that he could chew, food he was supposed to chew. He only wanted food he could swallow. Okay. Um, at the beginning, from when he was 2, he's 6 now. When he was 2, 3, he couldn't sleep well. We had too many interrupted sleep, and but it's gotten better. So yes, it does affect some children, in that regard.
Okay. Thank you. So, Whitney, in terms of the work that you're doing in Ghana, what do you see in the future? Do you think there will be rapid development in the management of autism?
I am hopeful for is that there will be different pathways for funding for parents. I have had conversations with a few insurance companies about possibly covering aspects of ABA therapy, and one did for a little bit. That we're not with that client anymore. She moved, but I'm hopeful that that's a potential pathway forward for parents to get more support. Um, I think there's also a lot of movement that's been made to raise awareness and break down stigmas that has helped make it more possible for these children to be out in their community because they need to be involved in their community. Ghana
Yeah.
is community, right?
Yeah.
So if we can break down some of those barriers so that families are more freely able to be in public, take their child to church, go different places, and not have fear like the horrible situation that happened to Tina with her son in traffic. I think as things get better that way, then families can be able to lean in on each other and get more support that way as well. And you're seeing so many more therapists, you're seeing so many more schools. There is a long way to go, but it's definitely on an upward momentum when it comes to services that are available. Things are happening. It's not decreasing, it's definitely increasing.
That's
So
great to
I'm
know.
hopeful in some ways, but a long way to go for other areas outside of the southern region of Ghana. You don't have a lot going on as you get further north into other more rural communities.
Yeah, so there's the need to spread out, go beyond the capital into the other regions. But at least it's good to know that there's some progress going on. Yeah. Okay, so our time is up. I'll take your final remarks. I don't know why Stella can't hear me, but if someone can send her a message for me, if we can.
Say anything because I couldn't hear a word of Abigail said, right? But what is most important for me, and I know a lot of Ghanaians are gonna watch this show as we log off, right? That one, autism is not a disease, like, for lack of better words, a Ghanaian person would say obi or autism or Jimmy Jimmy or for they're sick, right? Those are the points that I want to make. It's a neurodiverse. It means that the child thinks, responds, and act differently, right? So that's the one thing I want to get out there. Two, there are different levels of autism, right? There are kids that are lower functioning or level one, level two, or level three, right? And fortunately, unfortunately for us, the two major examples that we have seen within the Ghanaian community is Nana Donko's son and Nanaya, right? Who are nonverbal and will most of their life might need dependent, somebody helping them to get through their daily routine, right? And then you have people like Rain and Isabella, who will grow up and be able to mingle and be part of the society and have to be able to want whether they're gonna hide their disability, like things that they struggle with, or two, they're gonna find a way to overcome it. Three, I want people to know that autism people grow up and thrive in a society, right? We had a list of
Yeah.
people that have, Mars, the Tesla CEO was one of the major examples that we have, later on he was able to share with us that he was Asperger's, right? Because it's different component is disorder, so they put all of it in the same umbrella, right? So my last remark I want people to get away from is that autism, like Whitney said, is not something that you can infect somebody with it. Because in Ghana, people don't even want autistic kids in their classroom because they don't want to be associated with that child, with that individual, right? So we want people to know that it's genetics, it's individual, it's not something you can transfer to somebody else. Being autistic means that you are not, excuse my language, stupid or sick. It means that you think differently and you respond to things differently. The next thing I also wanted to share was that it's important for parents to know early, and the earlier you find out what's going on with your child, Please seek help. That's what we all have been saying. Seek help. Seek the OT. Speak the speech. Seek help. Seek the doctors. Find a way. Use the resource you can help to help your child. One thing I also want to share that Tina, Alma, and everybody said that was very important. Bible says that prayer without action is dead. Please make sure as you are praying, you are seeking resources and help for your child, right? And as Ghanaians in Ghana, we have to do a better job inclusion, because you don't even know your doctor might be autistic. You don't even know your teacher might be autistic. You don't even know the lady in the marketplace is autistic. You don't, so we don't want it to say that, oh, Jimmy for gone are the days that we used to think as autism as the little kid who sat in a corner and counted their fingers, right? It's not like that, right? It's a spectrum, and a lot of people fall under it, right? Under the umbrella. So we want to educate, we want to promote, and we want parents to start thinking and looking at their child and seek help for them the right way. And those are my last remarks.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, Whitney.
Wow, Stella, I think you were in my head because some of the things you said, like I also really wanted to comment on, especially the neurodiversity piece, right? Autism isn't it. I know it can be shocking at first, but I don't want people to view it as a bad thing, as something you're trying to rid your child of. Of course, there's aspects of autism that are not great and uncomfortable or dangerous to your child. You want to help them thrive and have the best life they can. But autism is just a different way of thinking. And there's a lot of neurodiverse brains out there. I myself am ADHD. My brain thinks and works differently. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be here in Ghana doing what I'm doing without my ADHD, right? So I wouldn't take it away. I wouldn't take it away. But yes, I've struggled. I've struggled at times in life. But it has made me who I am. And so for your children too, like there's aspects of autism that makes them just so incredibly unique, and they can go on to do amazing things in life, right? So we need to empower them to be the best version of themselves, not try to fix them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I also wanted to say, as a parent, if you're trying to get support for your child with therapists, please check that they're certified, either as IVAs, or they're supervised by someone, at least in the ABA field, that they're supervised by someone who's certified speech therapist. There's a lot of people out there that'll take an online class for an hour or two and then say, oh, I can do speech therapy. No, it doesn't work that way. Same with behavior analysis. It's a lot of coursework, practicum, exams, all that. And then the last point is, you know your child better than anybody else. You do. You're your child's number one teacher. You can do so much for your child. So it's not like, okay, go to speech, I'll see you later. It's, oh, let me know what's happening in speech so that I can be incorporating that into the daily life with the child. Because when you are also working along with the therapy team to do things the same, you're going to see amazing growth with your child. I know you have a lot on your plate, it's overwhelming, but if you can take 10, 15 minutes a day to practice some few little things, it will really make a difference for your child. Those are my last remarks. Thank you.
I think that last point is really important, because now a lot of parents are so busy, and then when it comes to regular parenting, most of Ghanaians, I dare say, have left it to their helps, and they're about their career, and sometimes you can't blame them. Stuff like traffic in town, so you have to wake up early, drop the kids and get to work early. You close late, you come back, you're tired. So when you have to juggle all that with a health issue like this, it can be challenging. But I think parents should sacrifice for the future of their children. Otherwise you put more stress on yourself, because then the child doesn't receive the help that they need and they might deteriorate. So thanks a lot for that point. All right, Vanessa. Your final remarks.
Yes. Yes, my final remarks. Again, all of you have said amazing things already. Like Whitney said, I think all of you are in my head. What I can say is that to add on is that again, you are your child's biggest number one fan, advocate for everything. What I would like to add on to that is to create relationships with the specialist that your child sees. When a specialist sees that you are very involved in the process in which the specialist is taking your child through, they then sense or pick up that you are indeed very, very concerned and you are indeed involved with your child at home and outside and even during therapy sessions. So please create relationships with all of your therapists or specialists that your child sees so that they too may see the relationship that you have with your child and how they can add to make it more of a comfortable experience. Not all sessions go A star or 100%. There may be days where our children will not be cooperating, but when a parent is involved, I'm 100% involved in my child's sessions and everything that she goes through. So when the therapists see that, they too put in the effort to mimic a parent, almost a parent style teaching with the child, so they too can have that relationship. So once your child sees their therapist, it's like I'm running inside my own home. I feel comfortable. I can now open the gates of learning to soak up, as a child, they're sponges. So once they feel comfortable around the therapist, it's easier for them to, bend and easier to mold and learn more stuff, with the therapist. So parents, please be more involved or create relationships with a therapist. Sacrifice is a big thing about all of this. And please, if our children are number one, creating relationships should be right there in the next spot. Because that's what we do in this life: create relationships and create memories and create lifelong things that would help everyone grow in a way that they can have a more fulfilling life. And that's pretty much the foundation of our children in this day.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Another important point: create relationships. So, last but not the least, Tina.
Well, I must applaud you all. I've learned a lot, and you've said really great things. What I would like to add is an advice to anyone who would chance upon this video, anyone watching us. Um, be kind, be loving. You never know what in our work we face daily backlashes. Um, in our Ghanaian community, it's terrible. You take your child out, he's throwing tantrums, and you are being judged as a very poor parent, a parent who is not straightening their child. So be patient. And if you don't understand something, ask. If you see someone in distress over their child, it doesn't matter how old the child is. Approach the person. If you want to help, if you can't help, you walk by. You don't judge the person or insult the person. So the little I would want to add is be kind. And if you are a mom or a parent whose child is autistic or with any developmental disorder, I would like to, you know, admonish you, cheer you on, and tell you that you've got it. It's not the end of the world. Pick yourself up and move on. The diagnosis isn't the end of it all. Pick yourself up, cry, of course, cry, go through all the emotions. It's important. Grieve if you want to, if you have to. Go through the emotions, but pick yourself up and help your child because your child needs you. That's what I'd like to add. Thank you very
Thank you so much. I love that. I think those of you who have children with developmental problems are heroes because I look at even the, again in quotes, regular children and how they can frustrate you and push your buttons. So imagine, I mean, having a child who is not as responsive. I can only imagine the stress and the pressure it will put on you. And I applaud you for what you're doing. I have a friend who has got about, I think she's got three boys, and it looks like two of them have developmental problems. And I look at her and I'm amazed, how she's still able to keep her head high and go about her regular duties. So God bless you all and keep you strong, to keep supporting your children. And like the Bible says, in all things, God works for our good. And like you've all said, they are gifts and they also have purpose in the world. So we shouldn't shun them. They have use for all of us and for humanity. So I want to thank all of you. And I don't know why Stella can't hear me, but tell her I said thank you. Whitney, Tina, Vanessa, thank you all so much for coming on. And I'm hoping that this conversation will go on and it will contribute to efforts to create more awareness and help manage autism in Ghana and then the world. I was actually surprised that you said that it's also taboo in the States, because I know it's commonly known out there. But yeah, I guess it's human nature. Whatever is strange to us, we tend to push away. God help us. All right. So this has been the Abi Imani Reviews show. This is where we speak, we are real so that we can live. And today we've talked about autism. We've heard a lot. Let's go out there and put them into practice so that everybody can have a fulfilling life. That's the whole idea. Can I ask Tina to pray with us to end?
Okay. Our dear Lord and Master Jesus, we thank you for today. We thank you for a successful program. We thank you for all the things that you have helped us give out. Help us, each and every one of us, play the roles that we need to make this world a better place, to make our children, any child who has autism, live a fulfilling life. We thank you and we bless you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And one final reminder, if you haven't subscribed, please go to the YouTube channel. Just type in Abi Imani Reviews in your browser. Go to the channel page, subscribe, and also share the link with anyone who you think will benefit from our discussions. Thank you all, and we'll see you on Monday. This has been a special edition because of my guests, and I'm grateful to God that we've been able to pull it off. So I'll see you on our regular schedule on Monday, God willing. All right, ladies. Thank you. We'll keep
Thank you so
talking
much,
more.
Abby. I appreciate it.
So,
Thank you
Anytime.
so much for
Thank
having
you
me,
so
and
much.
God bless you all.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.